instead of universe acting upon him. So this image naturalizes and essentializes what it means to be human, and thereby someone who is different from this image is neglected or marginalized or become a savage, as we know in colonial discourses. This is why the institution of slavery and colonialism or racism got justified by some. It created images of the other, the savage, based on differences. This privilege enjoyed by men is further enhanced by the Enlightenment project, when man's higher position was marked by the reason, by reason, as in Descartes' cogito. The Enlightenment thinkers believed that the world could be observed and analyzed by the Cartesian thinking man to establish universal truths that already existed out there to be discovered. As if it is already there, we just need to go and discover it. So this observing man is an autonomous, matured, able-bodied subject who researches and produces factual knowledge of the external world. So this view and the other debates, so I'm not going into details, I'm just jumping to 20th century because I don't know how much time I would have. So, so this continues with this rational enlightened man continues throughout the 19th century with the growth of industrialism and others, and in the 20th century, men as the center of anthropocentric worldview stimulates debates, particularly during the post-war eras, and roughly in the 70s and 80s, newer ways of understanding men were thought of amidst the dynamics of human body, environment, and growing technology. The postmodernists and post-structuralists were beginning to challenge grand narratives and man's position on earth. Postmodernist critics challenged the rhetoric of the modern era, eventually attempting at subverting everything unitary, grand, hegemonic, and universal in nature, following Nietzsche and others. Subsequently, the 21st century witnesses the extensive reconfiguration of the notion of man with the use of technologically mediated power, digital identities, virtual bodies, and thinking machines. So we'll be coming back to thinking machines again. So I just will be focusing on this particular aspect on thinking machines and post-human subjectivity. So we move to the new enlightenment. With the questioning, with the debates, we arrive at a new enlightenment, and particularly I want to draw your attention to this book, Towards a New Enlightenment, The Case of Future-Oriented Humanities, which a book series, the new coming out of the New Institute interventions, and it aims at strengthening the voice of the humanities in public and political discourse. Its publications present the work of the fellows of the New Institute based in Hamburg and brings together academia, activism, arts, media, and collectively, they generate new ideas and solutions for the most pressing problems facing humanity today. And most importantly, they come up with a new episteme which aims at fundamental reconfiguration of key ideas, key areas of society, and recoupling of the humanities and the social sciences. And I think this is this brings a total paradigm shift in our thought, in our approach, and how we understand ourselves and the outside external world. And this recoupling brings in it liberates humanities, and it brings in, as I will talk about, a multi or interdisciplinary approach to our problems, to the crisis, to climate crisis, which cannot be relegated to a particular category of study. And so recoupling of humanities and the sciences, I think, is a big breakthrough. And at such a juncture, I like to note quote from Ihab Hassan in his seminal, who writes in his seminal essay, uh, Prometheus as performer towards a postmodern, post-humanist culture in 1977, where he mentions the evolving culture of posthumanism and post-human condition. Yeah. And how he talks about the Vitruvian man has now, with the couple with the paradigm shift, the posthumanism challenges um, traditional humanist concepts of identity and embodiment, fixed theories of what it means to be human, where humanness is something innate, and so framing people of color, women, queer, and disabled folks as inferior has been decentered. I mean, the whole perspective changes. And as he says, he mentions the Vitruvian man has now broken the circle and the square he was in. He has broken the chain of hierarchy among species. So, with this paradigm shifts, scientists, philosophers, writers have been compelled to think deeply on human subjectivity, the growth of technology, coming of artificial intelligence, and their relationship in broader ethical ways. As such, now speculations about planetary futures and the human race haunts and makes us one anxious at the developments that have changed the entire dynamics of human and more than human categorizations. One can no longer choose to ignore as we live and act within the technologically charged, quote, emergent culture of posthumanism. This condition had changed the ontological and epistemological perception of human body and subjectivity, adding to one's social location of class, gender, race, and age. Hamlet's query, in form and moving how, is a query which is relatable now. The human race had entered a period in history which these inevitable changes, like Rosie Braidotti says in her keynote address to the Conference on Posthumanism and Society, need to be taught and retaught hard on their nature, use, and aberrations. When Foucault wrote on the death of man in the order of things, like Ihab Hassan mentions, he had a a certain kind of man uh, shaped by Descartes, Erasmus, and Montaigne, and this man's symbolic death. It was the beginning of the death of anthropocentrism. And with this new enlightenment and the paradigm shift and the new episteme, we enter the post on the growth of postmodernism and new materialism, where the subjectivity of man remains fluid, multiple, and with psychoanalysts non-existent, which is discussed by Slavoj Zizek in Interrogating the Real. It rejects the humanist ideal of man as the universal representative of the human. Now, posthumanism is an interdisciplinary term now used by many theorists to elucidate the contemporary positions of men and culture. It is mentioned by researchers from various disciplines like philosophy, science, and technological studies, literary studies, cultural studies, sociology, and communication studies. The paradigm shift had, like I already explained, the paradigm shift had already revolutionized the conception of the universe and the position of man. Posthumanism, as discussed by Hussain, offers a new episteme and redefines man's relation with the universe. It is based on decentralized position of man and makes him aware of the interconnected existence with other species of the ecosystem. The hybridized character, human animal, human non-human, cyborg, debunk the fundamental binaries or ontological categories like the human, non-human, the organic other, and the inorganic other, metal, flesh, metal, and the born and the manufactured. Now, in this, I would like to draw your attention to the film Avatar, where you have this decentering on the human, and as James Cameron presents, he comes up with this hybrid avatar who has the body of the Navi and the soul of a man, the brain, the thoughts of a man. So how this mind and body dichotomy is challenged in the form of this avatar. So, having said this, let us consider these queries. What is it like to debunk binaries and uphold the multitude? Does posthumanism threaten our understanding of man's subjectivity or imply the end of our race? Does the study or the progress of man by man eventually will destroy our race? So I don't have these answers, of course, but I will like to initiate these questions, and to discuss these questions, I will take up two cases here, two case studies, one from literature and the other from film studies, one that is Klara and the Sun by Ishiguro, and Blade Runner 2049 as my study to explain and to talk about the postmodern posthuman subject. Uh, so, um, yeah, Klara and the Sun has been, when the reception of Klara and the Sun shows an existential concern for the human condition being plagued by uh, loneliness. And the resolution seems to be in an increasing acceptance of AI-powered uh, companions. Now you can see that there is a case here where you first create this lonely human, then you have these corporations coming in and selling the solution to the human race. And the resolution seems to be in the increasing acceptance of AI-powered companions, the AI-powered friends, which I will be referring to as AFs. The corporations try to capitalize on this emotional void in the novel by offering a technological solution. There is anxiety and fear of technology and at an integration of AI in human life because of the uncanny valley effect. This general anxiety that surrounds the discourse regarding AI also arises from the unsettling realization that the human qualities of rationality and intelligence, which previously was associated with human beings, are no longer exclusive to them. This challenged the long held perceptions of identity, of selfhood, and what it means to be human. Now, Klara and the Sun is a dystopian futuristic science fiction published in 2021. The story is told through the perspective of an AI, that is Klara, who is a caregiver thinking machine. And she is also a solar powered artificial friend. She inculcates this habit of observing the gestures, the people from the window of the store. And she develops this empathetic and human emotions in her, and how she improvises herself. So she is not just an AI, but an AI with emotions, and who can think. So she is a thinking uh, friend, who gets a subjectivity, and I will try to explain how she moves from the humanoid robot, the object, to a thing that has a subjectivity, and later on how she is sent to the junkyard, and then with her uh, memories of her experiences in Joy's, I mean, in the family with whom she was living. So Klara and the Sun follows the life of Klara, an artificial friend made for technologically lifted children to assist them in navigating their daily lives. The novel opens in an FF store. I mean, the store which has other AFs, where Klara is living with other AFs, Rosa and also a boy named Rex. She is waiting to be bought and taken home by a family. Till such a point in time, she observes people, their activities, gestures of others who come into the store, and uh, talk to Rosa, Rex, and other manager and the store manager, or look at the street from the window of the store. Klara and the other AFs view the sun as a godlike figure, providing them with necessary nourishment. When she and Rosa get their coveted chance to sit in the store's display window, advertising themselves to the public, Klara is delighted, as the window allows her to see human activity in the outside world. After a long wait, she is adopted by Josie, and her non-human life unfurls as she is positioned into the role of Josie's caregiver. Klara attains subjecthood as a caregiver, and in this, the author raises ethical questions of such an enterprise. Klara interprets their experiences, interactions with humans, and on request by Joseph's mother, mimics human cognition, something that they have learned and acquired through interactions. When a technological entity appears to express emotions like compassion or concern, it evokes a sense of an inner emotional life, encouraging users and readers alike to perceive the machine as capable of feeling. So when she was in the store, we can view her as an object, that human and robot, which is training itself. And I use it because it is an object now. But the moment she is adopted by and taken and bought by this family, she goes as a caregiver, and she gets this subjectivity, and she becomes this what we call a thing. Um, In the novel, Clara's linguistic behavior often signals such expressions like her concern for Josie's well being, her positivity, her devotion to Josie, and her role as an AF, and how she articulates in ways that closely mimic human care. These expressions not only humanize her but also put her within human relationships. Klara perceived emotional responses reinforces anthropomorphism through effective language and caregiving behaviors. Klara in the novel feels negative emotions too, such as fear and anxiety, as well as positive emotions, like I mentioned. She is intuitive about humans and their motives, and on a visceral level, she understands that Joseph's mother's love is self centered and narcissistic. So, I have few quotes from the novel. I had lean my face forward, that is, in the store when she was in the store, to take in as much of his son nourishment as I could. And if Rosa was with me, I would tell her to do the same. So unlike most AFs, unlike Rosa, I would always long to see more of the outside and see it in all its details. So you see how she is telling her desire to observe the outside world and learn. So she has this desire to learn more every day and look at the Jessers, the school children accompanied by parents on the street and how they behave and how they talk. So she is training by looking at the outside world. She is training herself. And there's one more quote, but if I have to emphasize just one well, it could have to be her appetite for observing. And like, this is what the store manager says to the family to sell Klara. And he says it would have to be her appetite for observing and learning, her ability to absorb and blend everything she sees around her is quite amazing. So not only to see and train herself, but it also stays in her memory. So we're not only talking about human emotion, but we are also talking about how our experiences are remembered, are stored in the memory, and which is used later when she goes to that family. Here the question arises, what happens when AI is provided with a mechanical body, equipped with neural networks that allow it to respond to stimuli, adapt, and form experiences? By having a body, they have already entered the realm of consciousness, along with its further linguistic anthropomorphism that can transcend the realm of the thing. Leo Stein, if you remember, he is the art critic who says things are what we encounter, ideas are what we project. Brown draws from the American art collector and critic Stein while talking about how things assert themselves with a suddenness and how the body is a thing among things. He talks about Apadurai's argument in The Social Life of Things that quote, even though from a theoretical point of view, human actors encode things with significance, from a methodological point of view, it is the things in motion that illuminate their human and social context. The emergence of the thinking subjects, of thinking machines, happens from material interactions, as he calls Matthew Jones' example that a simple mathematical uh, instrument become the model and exemplar of Descartes' new subject. Bill Brown, in his theory, states that the shift from object to thing is dependent on a literary rupture when an everyday item exists beyond its utility and insists on our attention as a site of affection and reflection. I would look at an AC as a thing that can become subject themselves with linguistic anthropomorphism. And Latour's actor network theory challenges the idea that agency belongs to humans exclusively and introduces the concept of actant, which includes non-human entities like plants, animals, objects to show how they actively shape the network that they are part of. He looks at the human not as a self contained entity, but as being entangled in broader networks of influence and dismantles human exceptionalism. Now, this is very important. This whole shift to decentering the human, the Vitruvian man, in posthumanism. In his notion of actant networks, he does away with any binary divide between object-subject by tracing how humans, technology, materials, and discourses influence each other's capacity to act. Brown focuses on the temporary demilitarization of single thing. Latour looks at the relations that produce agency. By applying Brown's theory, I try to pinpoint the linguistic flashpoints where, when Klara transcends her objecthood, with Latour's framework, her subjecthood is constructed by narrative conventions, emotions, perspectives, and language, which allow entry into human discourses extended by roles of caregiving and moral agency. Now, Klara and the Sun is written from the perspective of the AF itself, but that does not decenter the human. Ishiguro uses the perception of the AF to understand what it means to be human, reflecting on human nature, consciousness, and biological existence from a non-human perspective. So when you read the novel, you will feel at the center there is this human, as we know of before, is missing, is something that that Ishiguro tries to find out, and he tries to find out through another perspective, where the AI is trying to map what it is to be human and how she picks up the gestures and emotions from humans. So it is not only the AI that changes, what I want to say is also the humans that changes. So it is both are, I mean, they intervene into each other, and both have these hybridized, shifting changes in their selves. However, in doing so, he has treated the AF just as a human subject. She is not just another AF, artificial friend. She is distinct, more caring, more self-aware, and observant than what she was programmed for. There is a desire in her to be more human, yet she remains in a state of assimilation, which can never be complete. This desire can be seen in her constantly differentiating herself from how she differentiates herself from the other AFs, particularly from her friend Rosa. This assertion of individuality can be seen in the beginning of the text with the use of the I, which signals a sense of self and identity. She is, I think we already saw this in the quotes, how she writes about how she wants to look outside the window and she tells Rosa to do the same act. And she is advising Rosa, and at the same time, she is so sure about her sense of self that she even attempts to guide her friend to be more like her. And like when she says, I will lean my face forward, you also do so. And she further emphasizes how she can she has this thirst for knowledge that mirrors the defining trait of human intelligence. Clara's internal monologues show her level of introspection, something that is typically associated in human with human consciousness. This mimicking of human psychology aligns with the foundational design of artificial intelligence, as its neural networks are influenced by the human brain and its function. Her ability to observe, learn, and integrate information can also be seen in the novel, but and her capacity for pattern recognition, adaptation make her increasingly human-like. Yet she remains an artificial construct, a thing. So Clara's status as just a machine or AF gets reinforced when the aspect of care is removed from her identity, and she is referred to as just an AF during the get-together. The existence resorted to that of an object when they were asking Josie why she didn't opt for the B3 models, and Clara was asked to prove her efficiency to the other lifted kids. They wanted to throw her around and for her to adhere to the formalities of an AF when they consider an object or which they consider as an object or a pet devoid of any subjectivity. Instead of evoking an uncanny valley response, Clara's characteristics make her seem more desirable and acceptable as a child's companion. Her human-like characteristics do not appear as airy, showing that the more an AI exhibits the qualities association with human cognition and care, the more seamlessly it can be integrated into human life. It is with the study of phenomenology of things that shows how we see things and how we decide whether it belongs to the position of the subject or the object. In Clara and the Sun, care is seen as one of the central themes which is not exclusive to humans. Clara is an artificial friend designed to combat loneliness and help these lifted children through technologically enhanced ways, and and Clara displays caregiving qualities, as I have already mentioned, and challenges the assumption that care is exclusive to humans. It further helps in gaining subjecthood in the text. In care ethics, there are, as you see, there are four key sub-elements: attentiveness, responsiveness, competence, and responsibility, which Clara embodies in her relationship with Josie, a sick child who depends on her for emotional support and companionship. Clara displays her skills of being an alert observant more so than the other AFs, and she constantly monitors Josie's moods, energy levels, and well beings. She also notices the subtle changes in her behavior. Unlike other AFs, Clara's attentiveness extends beyond just her programming as she actively learns from her environment. She takes her role as Josie's caregiver very seriously and assumes responsibility for her health and happiness. But Clara remains committed to her duty, and even though there is this mother who shows emotional who shows uncertainty and who questions Clara, she is committed to her duty and shows a sense of moral obligation. Care can only be meaningful when it is carried out effectively. Klara's actions include offering support and seeking out the son's nourishment to attempt to heal Josie symbolically, showing her level of competence in her caregiving. Her understanding is shaped by her own logic, and but her attempts mirror the human effort of care for one another, sometimes resorting to fate or rituals. Klara also feels and is aware of the importance of the family time for Josie and how much she cherishes the little moments that she can share with her mother. She observes how these interactions have a positive impact on Josie's mood. And when she is unable to spend time with her mother, she becomes visibly upset. There is a significant turn in the dynamics after demonstrating deep care for Josie when we learn that Josie's mother wants Klara to imitate her daughter in the event of her passing. This reveals the central conflict of the text. The technology that was designed to enhance and perfect the lives of humans is ultimately rendered the human child fragile and replaceable. When Joseph's body was weakening significantly due to the genetic engineering that was meant to uplift her, it was an artificial entity that was called upon to replace her. Now, with this, I'd like to go to the other case study, that is Blade Runner, because I suppose I have just 15 minutes, so I'll try to uh, just quickly uh, talk about Blade Runner 2049. I'm talking about only this film, not the earlier Blade Runners. Uh, so so here it is an 2017 film, American film noir, and which had bioengineered humans called replicants, and the protagonist, who is K, who has a number KD6 3.7, a replicant who works with the LA Police Department, and Blade Runners are hitmen who kills the replicants who turns rogue. So the two main aspects of Blade Runner 2049 that I want to mention, and which inspired later works, are the treatment of the post-human on one hand, and the city. So the themes run parallelly. There is this city which is and the frames that introduces the city, the theme of the post-human, and the aesthetics of the city gets merged, and the treatment updates, in fact, Fritz Lang's Metropolis, the film that introduced cityscapes in an early film in 1927. So it not only extends the way the cinematic space is treated, but also it gives us a new perspective of the city and how the city can merge into the subjectivity and vice versa. The theme of the post-human and the aesthetics of the city are deeply fused with visuals of foggy, rainy, shadow-ridden city, constituting a backdrop that mirrored the shifting protean identity formations built on blurring the boundaries between human and replicants. The film expands the scope of post-human subjectivity. Now, in Klara and the Sun, we are talking about post-human subjectivity, which has this, who are artificial friends. They are artificial, but then they are participating friends as well. So in this film, it is a very extended form of post-human subjectivity, and that is why I chose this. Um, how it expands the spatial configurations and our understanding of post-human subjects and thereby post-humanism. Uh, so the two parallel aspects that I'm talking about is, of course, also the world building. The diegetic space that in the film, the virtual and the real, and the synthetic biology that is introduced early in the film, where the protagonist goes in a mission to hunt down a rogue replicant and then kill him, liquidate that applicant. And also in the film, we have this world building of the office, real office spaces, homes, and also liminal cityscapes. And of course, we have the protagonist who is also a replicant, the post-human subjectivity, and where the post-human subjectivity is complicated, is very complicated here, which keeps shifting, and we cannot really, as audiences, pin them down to a particular category. Uh, and therefore, you see, the film uh, brings in the debate concerning subjectivity to the fore on a tension between the condition of inhabiting physical and or virtual space. In her seminal text, a Cyborg Manifesto, Donna Haraway argues that the late 20th century machines have blurred the division between natural and artificial. Moreover, a kind of reversal has taken place. Our machines are disturbingly lively and ourselves frighteningly inert. In the film, it is very difficult to pin down the characters as humans or humanoids or replicants or virtual entities, because replicants' physical appearances do not immediately identify them as non-human. The human characters appear to be obsessed with developing methods through which they track replicants with various forms of biometric data such as DNA and serial numbers, serving as the primary means through which to identify a replicant. The biometric data used to track replicants is highly disturbing. They are stored in a library where each replicant of each generation of replicants are stored with a serial number, which is assigned and engraved on the bone of each individual replicant. This shows how their social identification is permanently incorporated in their bodies. One of the primary questions being raised here is how biological characteristics can be used to shape and reinforce concepts of identity, which primarily depends on machines for verification. It is expected that bodies remain stable, predictable, and controlled, which the cinematic frames and the story challenge, because instead of controlled, predictable, stable identities, post-human subjectivity, we in fact see subjects which are protein, which question their own subjectivity, and the film can be read as a postmodern. The film can also be read as a detective story that explores the indeterminacy of whether its protagonist K is human or replicant. We follow K, a detective replicant, bioengineered androids that look like humans, who sets out to find the supposed offspring of another replicant. Now, the first mission of K that is shown in the film, in the first 5 minutes of the film, where he goes on a mission, as I mentioned, to hunt down this rogue replicant. And while he kills him, and when he comes out under a tree, he sees the remains of a female replicant. And From that, the search begins. His search is politically charged because replicants are considered unable to reproduce. And they find out later on that these two replicants were in love and they have a human child. So you see how these categories are questioned and fused, where these two replicants have a human child, and it is this chase that the protagonist follows in the film. And during his search, Kay comes to believe he himself might be the child he is searching for. And here, intimacy is and can be established, is shown that it can be established between human and non-human agents. And what this subsequently implies is intimacy can be understood through a post-humanist lens. For Slavoj Žižek, the film is exclusively, we are not surprised with that, of course, but for him, the film is exclusively on reproduction and is fundamentally on who are these humans. So as he writes, it is all too humanist in the sense that everything circulates around humans and those who want to be humans or those who don't know that they are human. Like the DNA owner, library owner, who is actually the human child that Kay is looking for in the film. And then Slavoj get further talking about the film's implicit humanist message is that of liberal tolerance. We should give androids with human feelings, love, etc., human rights, treat them like humans, incorporate them with our universe. But upon their arrival, will our universe still be ours? Will it remain the same? Will it remain the same human universe? What is missing in any consideration of the change that the arrival of androids with awareness will mean for the status of the humans themselves? We humans will no longer be humans in the usual sense. So will something new emerge, and how do we define it? So the next that I want to, I will stop sharing my slides. I like to, with these questions, I like to go into Deleuzean processual philosophy, which privileges virtual potentiality over actualized representation, which allows us to see replicants or Klara thinking machine as a metaphor for the industrial capture of human desire and emotion, empathy, and thereby throws us in the quandary of technological power as to who owns them. So the principal question is, who owns these thinking machines, and the problem of this quandary of technological power. So posthumanism, what I wanted to underscore is posthumanism destabilizes the center, and the post in posthumanism does not entail humans as dead, but thriving in a different zone where it can incorporate entanglements, human, non-human cyber fusions. The fundamental objective is the realization of the human competence and potentiality and its interconnectedness to other spaces, embodying reason, science, technology, and the evolving technology and its creation stock of higher potentials in human beings. This evolving new human is backed by a power of technology, and to think in all its possibilities would dominate the future. And we see how whether it is say whether it is in in Blade Runner 2049 or in Avatar, what we are looking at is, of course, these envisioned futures where technology operates as a tool of liberation and also as a mechanism of control. So this control is very significant here, which can be very also political, and where it embodying the inherent ambivalence of technological progress and complexities of post-human assemblages. So coming back to post-human, the human in post-humanism and subjectivity, I just want to emphasize the point that in post-humanism, I mean, the subject is rhizomatic as a kind of a protein figure, which changes with its interactions with the other. The other may be anything, the amoeba or to other. Um, just 1 minute, my battery is low. I'll just switch on the charger. So I don't know whether I've charged. Yeah. So yeah, what I was saying is a protein subject that goes on shifting, and then the human post-humanism introduces post-humanism in fact is still evolving. So whatever I have mentioned here is a field which keeps on evolving, and with the speedy changes that we see today. So thank you.